There's all the peoples.
That's what I
I
want that.
want to learn from Afton. I win every listing in every market. We got someone, so we.
Oh, doing good.
Okay. Let's confirm. Hi, could someone confirm that you can hear us on Zoom, please?
Hello, Zoom land.
Brittany, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Like your shoes. Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Find yourself.
Good.
Couple more minutes to see if any more people hop on or walk on.
So there's a lot of people texting me, let's not start just yet.
Okay.
Thank you so much. There's 26 people signed up.
Really?
Yeah.
Get the 10 beautiful, fabulous, really sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, there we go. All right, you guys, and Griffin was gonna be doing it in the middle, like there was a bunch of them. 209, what was all? So yes. Have you guys met? The woman, the woman.
We know, I know her, but I'm not sure about anybody else.
Yeah, we need it. We're gonna start in about 5 minutes, you guys. Hey, Beatrice. Where are you? Like jammed in the back.
How are you?
Hey, girl.
Good morning.
All right, 5 minutes, you guys, and we're just gonna start. We've gotta respect everybody's time.
Does everybody have stuff to take notes with?
Oh, yes.
My class is interactive. I've got some slides, but I'm gonna have a lot of stuff in between those slides that we're gonna talk about.
This is crazy. Where's that one at? There's 26
It's
people.
Monday.
I think it's Monday.
No, but I'm Marissa.
Oh my gosh.
Just team lead here.
She's been with me for, we said 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
She walked in my office and goes, I love telling the story. She goes, I need you and you need me. And I'm like, okay.
Just like that.
I loved it. I love how aggressive she was.
That's so cool.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let me get started.
All right, you guys, let's rock and roll. All right, you guys, this is Afton. She doesn't know this, but she's our top individual right now.
Am I?
Year to date, darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very, very excited about that. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
And she's a mama,
Yes.
and she's a wife, and she's killing it. So thank you for everything that you did for us. And thank you for coming out, taking time.
Sure.
All right, you guys, have fun, take good notes.
Okay. I'm gonna close this just so that we don't get any extra noise.
Are you on it?
Okay, I'm just gonna start here. My name is Afton. Thanks, Michelle, for the lovely introduction. I know a few of you guys met another person here. I'm just gonna hop right into it. My class is super interactive. I do like to take questions. I think I have an hour here, so, I'm just gonna start. I have some slides here, but there's a lot of stuff that I intend to share that may not be on these slides, so we prepared to take some notes and will definitely get your questions answered later, okay? What do I do here? Another button. Hang on a second.
Elmer is,
Which one do I push it on?
Well, I think it is.
That's okay, keyboard.
Okay.
Thanks. So what I like to say is that I was born in Keller Williams, so I've been with Keller for 15 years. April 1st actually was my 15-year anniversary. I have never been with another brokerage,
I'm just gonna make sure we got this. Hold on.
okay,
Is this the first one?
no,
No,
no.
we're on number
We're on
6.
Yeah, that's the last one.
This is the last one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going backwards.
you see the number?
Hold on.
You see the number on the bottom.
Can I just take the mouse?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay,
I'm gonna bring it to you.
great, thank you. And I can just click
Yeah, it's like, the little arrows is fun.
over here. This one. Closer. Can everybody see me on the TV? Okay, good. Alrighty, so yeah, I've been with Keller for 15 years. I was licensed in 2010. Everybody told me I was absolutely out of my mind for getting into real estate in 2010 because the market was crashing. Everybody was getting out of real estate when I chose to get in. My former boss was like, well, pretty much like a good luck and a good riddance, like, well, sure hope you can make some money in real estate and good luck to you. And I just, everybody that told me to know or had some kind of a negative innuendo like that, it was fuel for me to prove everybody wrong. That was kind of my mindset. I don't know why. And so very humble beginnings for me. I had just bought my first house in 2009. I made $15 an hour. And so like, I pretty much made enough money to cover my mortgage. And then my partner at the time pretty much covered the rest. And so I had no savings. I couldn't afford to quit my job and go full-time into real estate. And so everything I did was evenings and weekends. And I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it. But I worked pretty much 7 days a week, 8 to 12 hours a day. I'd work after work and then I'd work on the weekends and for about 6 months. And funny story, so my very first listing, or not my very first buyer that I got under contract, I worked on for 6 months. And it was a short sale, it was a relocation sale. And my client was moving money from Mexico. She had her son qualifying for her. He bought rims and tires for his vehicle and couldn't qualify at the very end. And we finally figured it out. And at the end, the mom finally said, forget it. I just don't want the house anymore. It's too stressful. And it fell apart and it didn't close. And she lost her deposit. So in my very first transaction, I learned so much. And then also my very first 2 listings went into foreclosure. They were short sales. And so if you think that those 3 things aren't enough to make you give up and want to just run away from this industry for some crazy, insane reason, I didn't. And I just, proceeded forward. So very humble beginnings for me. Every piece of marketing that I did was free to an extent. I didn't have any colored marketing. I didn't have, it was just with my 2 feet, the shoes on my feet, and the ignorance I had to just go out and talk to as many people as possible. I built my business with open houses for the first several years, and then and then I took bold. And bold is where everything completely changed, where my career completely changed and my life completely changed. So if you know what bold is and you've taken bold, I encourage you to take it over and over and over again, because you will get something completely different out of it every time. If you don't know what bold is or have not taken it, I highly encourage you to invest in yourself, spend the money and take it, because I promise you, if you implement half of what you learned there, your business and your life and your career will drastically change. So slow and then sudden growth. So the first probably 3 to 4 years of my career was 100% buyers. I had those first couple of listings, maybe my second year in real estate, that went into foreclosure, and I was terrified of them. They were all, everything was a short sale, right? Or it was foreclosures, and how to get into foreclosures, you had to be like a super seasoned agent and all of that. So I worked with buyers, and I was running myself ragged. You know, I was at that point in 3-4 years into real estate, I was closing maybe 30 transactions, and they were all buyers. And I finally decided that I wanted to tap into listings, and one of the key pieces, and it's here on this wall somewhere, is what you focus on expands. So I started saying listings, what can I do to get listings? And listings was all that was in my mind. Of course, I still have buyers we're working with, but slowly, I started getting one listing and then another listing and then another, and then boom, my business was like 50-50 listings and buyers. And my top year in real estate, as an individual agent, before I started forming a team, I closed 70 transactions on my own with the full-time admin. And then from there, my husband and I, we met, we got married, we partnered our business, and we closed over 100 transactions consecutively for about 4 years in a row. And then our business has shifted since then. So anyways, focused expansion, I discovered that I'm sorry, I can't read this, and I swear I know what is on here. Discover what I focus on expansion out of the success. And through the years, hello, come on in. Through the years, we have just literally, my husband's more of an investment mind, and just with everything we've gotten out of our real estate career, we've put back into it. And so today we own more than 50 investment doors. And we own 3 businesses if you include our rental portfolio. So, and we're just expanding and buying.
And congratulations on the commercial, I see it often.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my husband's got a real estate commercial now, so that's super fun. And people text us and tell us that they see him on TV all the time. It's kind of cool. So anyways, so understanding our market challenges. So really this entire purpose of this class is to how to win a listing in any market, right? So your goal and the way you're going to do that is to be a student of the market always, and to always be ahead of the market. So who are you surrounding yourself with? What lender do you have that's helping you navigate the lending side of things? Because that's one of the key pieces of being successful in this market, is knowing what interest rates are doing and how those interest rates are impacting buyers and sellers. They don't just impact buyers, right? They impact sellers too. Knowing what kind of inventory you have in this market, okay? Knowing, is this a normal amount of inventory? Going to masterminds, more classes. For the people that are here in this class, I commend you. Open yourself up to as many classes as you can that is something that you're interested in focusing on. One of the beautiful things about Keller Williams is that you have all of these classes at your fingertips. It's like drinking from a fire hose though. So make sure that whatever classes you're taking are going to be tailored to what your focus is. If you are only solely focusing on buyers, great, focus on that, and every class that you should take should be something about that. If it's building your database, make sure you're focusing on that. If it's listings, focus on your listings and all the classes that have to do with listings. And it doesn't have to be just this training, this market center. It can be any other market center where they're offering classes, because Keller classes are typically free. There's some paid ones like Fold, of course. But the way that you are going to win listings is in your confidence level and your knowledge. Doesn't matter how long you've been in real estate, it's about the information and the knowledge you can bring to people. People don't care how long you've been in real estate, I can promise you this. And they don't care your stats and how many homes you sold. All they care about is what you can do for me. How are you gonna help me? Okay, how are you gonna help me get the most money possible? And that's what people need to know. People work with people they like and the people that they trust, okay? So we build rapport, and then we get them to trust us by the information that we give them, okay? And what's gonna make us different than the next realtor that's gonna walk through your door, okay? Knowing how many days are on the market. So current average is 42 days, and I think that's nationally right now. So, but find out whatever your market is. If it's here in Natomas, what are your average days on market? Okay, if it's in Peterson, what are your average days on market? Make sure that you are being very specific. The real estate market is hyper local. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that term before. Hyper local means right here within a half-mile radius, this is what the market is. You go outside 3/4 of a mile away, or just on the other side of a main thoroughfare, the market and the neighborhood can change drastically. I know that's how it is for Sacramento. Maybe not just here in Natoma, as you go on the other side of the freeway, the market changes quite a bit, right? And the neighborhood's completely different, right? But if you're in other parts of Sacramento, you could just be on the other side of a busy street and the neighborhood's completely different, okay? So make sure you understand your market, and if you're like, well, I'm not from Sacramento, or I'm not from the market that I'm in, that's okay. How can you educate yourself and where you're at? Okay, that's going out, doing open houses, driving these communities. Talking to other people that have been in real estate for a long time. You don't even have to hold these open houses, but go to open houses and talk to other agents. I mean, there is no ego here. I mean, there can be, but if you put your ego aside and you show up as a student of this market and this industry, there's nothing that you can't achieve. I was 23 years old when I got my real estate license, so shy, couldn't even talk to somebody, right? Okay, but I decided that I needed this to be my career. If this was gonna be my career, I was gonna do absolutely everything that I could to be successful. And it had nothing, and for me, if I was shy, who cared? Right, so it didn't matter if I held an open house and I said nothing to somebody, they were gonna walk out that door and I was never gonna see them again, right? And then if I said something wrong, they were gonna walk out that door and I was never gonna see them again, okay? So I had absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by saying something. Okay, so for me, I just was, I did it. I pushed through the fear and I did it anyway. And then the seller psychology, knowing what sellers are anxious about. I know I'm kind of hopping around here. It's a lot in my brain. So knowing what sellers are anxious about and the timing and what's important to them. So dig deeper, ask a lot of questions. You can show up to an appointment and talk the entire time. But by you talking the entire time about yourself and what you can do for them, you don't have a clue what they need from you. So then it doesn't really matter what you're saying, right? So we're gonna talk about what you can do in your presentation today and how you can stand out from everybody else and how to basically prepare your presentation for success. And then let the presentation be the guide for you, okay? Presentation is gonna be the guide for you step by step. So pre-listing, setting the stage for success. Has anybody ever, who has taken listing here before? Okay, couple. Maybe a couple people online. So, has anybody ever dropped off a pre-listing packet? Okay, great. So those pre-listing packets, you're 2 people sitting here, maybe 3 people sitting in here that dropped off a pre-listing packet. I can tell you that 95%, 98% of realtors don't even know what a pre-listing packet is and don't send one out. Okay, so pre-listing packet is showing your commitment up front. It's basically setting the stage for who you are, having them know you a little bit, okay? So, that's and there's different ways to do that. You can send them prompts in your pre-listing packet, have all of that up front. But ultimately, what my pre-listing packet is get to know me and my team. Now, if you don't have a team, you really do have a team. Who's your transaction coordinator that's gonna be communicating with them? Who's your broker that oversees your files, right? Who are you? Who are the people in your company, right? If you have a coach, all of those things, that is your team. And your lender, who's your preferred lender, where you get all of your specifics and your information from. You have a team, and make sure you put that in there. Your marketing strategy. People wanna know what all you're going to do for them, right? And I imagine that with every listing, or maybe you don't have it, but for myself, every single listing that I take, I have about 40 different things that I do for every single one of my listings. And the marketing that comes off, it happens whether it's a $150,000 mobile home or it's a $1 million luxury home. I do the same marketing for all of it because I don't put a dollar sign on people. Okay, every person deserves the same level of service. Okay, and that's just in my business. Okay. So have your list of all of the marketing that you do. If you're not really sure what it is, if you haven't taken a listing yet, get with some other agents in your office. Say, what do you do when you take a listing? What's all the marketing stuff that you do? You know, is it social media? Is it doing a personalized video? Is it email blasting 10,000 agents between here and the Bay Area? any price reduction, you know, all the different levels of service that you provide in door 200 homes. You don't have to send out, you don't have to spend a lot of money doing this, sending out an email to realtors. Maybe costs like $40 to send to like 10,000 people, okay? You don't have to mail a listed postcard. That can cost the money. It's 200 postcards you want to send, that can cost you a couple $100, right? And you gotta find a mailing company and you have to do the marketing, blah, blah, blah. You can get out on your 2 feet and go door knock those homes because it's also a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more no's you get is one step closer to a yes, right? So you don't know who in the neighborhood that's also thinking about selling. You don't know who in the neighborhood has somebody that wants to move to the neighborhood. Or somebody that's maybe renting in the neighborhood that's looking to buy, right? So the more people you talk to, this is a relationship industry. Yes, it's sales because you're selling something, but it's a relationship industry more than anything else. So the more people you talk to, the more business opportunities. You don't need a lot of money for it. You just need your brains in your head and your shoes on your feet. You gotta get out there and go talk to people. Okay, and then every time, once if it's a coming soon, it's coming on the market this weekend, who do you know? I haven't, you door knock for the open houses, who do you know that would like to come by? And then it goes pending, who do you know? We just sold it, we had 7 offers on the house. Who else do you know that's thinking about selling in this market? Okay, do you think that's a powerful message when you knock on a neighbor's door and say, we just went pending in X amount of days and we have 5 offers on this. In a market where we don't get 5 offers, you know, maybe that doesn't happen anymore. Hey, we just went pending, who else do you know that's thinking about selling? You had multiple people interested in this property. Okay, and then when it sells, we just sold this property, who else do you know? So they're gonna see you multiple times in the neighborhood, giving them updates about what's going on in the neighborhood. Whether they have a real estate need or not, they see you multiple times, they think, wow, they're a go-getter. Hey, my cousin's thinking about buying a house, or my cousin's thinking about selling, right? And that's always your message is, hey, we did X, Y, and Z. Who do you know that's thinking about selling their house right now? Do you know anybody thinking about buying? Great, well, let me know how I can be a resource for you. Okay. Getting out, talking to people, practicing your scripts. Okay, value first. So we'll get into scripts in a few minutes. Social proof, share powerful client testimonials. So every single client that you meet with, even if you don't have any yet, and if you haven't closed a transaction yet, that's okay. Who do you know that knows you that can give you a review on Zillow or Google right now? Probably got a brother or sister, or an aunt or an uncle, or mom or dad or friend that can give you some kind of reviews to talk about the integrity of you, right? That can speak on some words on who you are and why they would work with you. Okay, so get out there and start building that. Even if it's not on social media, it doesn't matter. Just ask somebody to write a nice testimonial about you so that you can put it in your presentation. Okay, and provide immediate actionable advice they can use today. So in my listing presentation, I have a list that says 47 ways to help your home sell faster. So it's small things like curb appeal, like pulling your weeds, cutting your grass, painting your front door, washing your front door, cleaning your windows, right? Having your house professionally cleaned, declutter, do X, Y, Z. So giving sellers a list of things like that, whether they're, even if they're not ready for 6 months, I meet with people way in advance before I ever prepare to take a listing. And before they even know when they're gonna be selling, but they know they're gonna do it, they just don't have an actual date on when. I meet with them right away, I meet with them now, so that I can help them get a plan in place today, so they can start working on it, so it's not this stressful mad dash to get it ready for sale. Okay, I also have a vendor booklet that I give them that has all of my trusted vendors in there. And what I've done with all my vendors, I said, hey, if somebody mentions my name, we give them 10% discount, and they say yes, but and so that's the deal, they just have to mention my name when they call my vendors. But I literally have a vendor booklet that has a carpet cleaner, has a professional cleaner, a handyman, a landscaper, a painter, all these things that you think that people need, right? I even have a professional organizer that organizes and packs people. Can do moving companies, all of those things. And this is something that people don't just need when they're buying or selling a house. They need it all year long. You need handymen, you need landscapers all the time, a pool person, all of these people they need always, right? So I give that to them up front as well. And then what else do I give them? If I have That's pretty much it. It's my testimonials. It's the 47 ways to help your home sell faster, meet my team. It's all about you. So I even give them questions to ask a real estate agent. How are you full-time in real estate? How long have you been in the business? Like just a number of key questions that people should be asking realtors. So it's like, I'm confident in the answers that I'm gonna be able to give, and it's okay for me to give this to people. And understand that they may be interviewing other people, but if you can give people questions like that confidently, knowing that they may work with somebody else, that's okay. I know that when I show up, I'm gonna do absolutely everything that I can to win that listing. I may not win it immediately, because I know that I'm okay with meeting with people ahead of time. And that's a different model for other people. Some people don't wanna meet in advance until they're ready to sign a listing on the dotted line and take, be right then and, right then and there, but for me, I'm all about the relationship. 99% or pretty much 100% of my business for the last 7 or 8 years has been referral based. Where I don't pay for marketing, I don't pay for leads. Mine is strictly from asking for referrals from my past clients, my friends, and my family. And we close over 100 transactions a year. How powerful is that? It's amazing, right? Where you're not actually having to spend money to go get cold leads where people, you may not need people that you want, right? Yes, I did open houses for a number of years, but once I got to a point and I took bold. And I started asking for the referrals, my open houses became less and less. So my open houses was a vehicle for me to grow my business, because you do need to fill your business and fill your pipeline. To have enough people in your database to call and to follow up with, right? But also, how great is it to work with people that know, like, and trust you already? Or a warm referral from your client that just has these amazing things to say about you. Of course you want to work with those people. Those are layups. You don't have to sell yourself so hard. They're like, so-and-so vouched for you, and I wouldn't trust anybody else, and I want you to come work with me, and I'm not even gonna call anybody else. I'm not gonna consider it. That's a way different feeling, a way different level of confidence when you can show up in a moment like that. All because you call people, you check in, how can I help you? And oh, by the way, who do you know that's even about buying and selling? Every single conversation, okay? Am I talking too fast?
No.
Okay, good. The listing presentation, showcasing your value. Now, this is where you're gonna shine. I like to talk to people about comps in person. I also do a you should also do a pre-qualifying the the client before you even go on the appointment. We have a series of questions that you ask them. You ask about, okay, how much do you owe on the property? When did you purchase it? What did you pay for it? You wanna know, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being amazing and 1 being terrible, how would you rate their property? Get their rating, okay? And then, whatever they say, okay, what would it take to make it a 10? Because most of the time it's not a 10. What would you change in it to make it a 10? And they'll tell you all the things that they don't love about the house or that it needs fixing, whatever. Is there anything else about the house that's not functioning properly? From when you bought it, have you done any upgrading or updates to it? Okay. And then what's your timeline? Okay, and then any idea what you think you want to sell it for? And are you are you planning to sell it yourself? We want to know if they're planning to maybe do a for sale by owner, right? Because all these questions that we're asking is going to change the dynamic of the conversation when you meet with them in person, or even if you choose to meet with them. And then the question of any idea, what you think you want to sell it for, we want to know that, because if they tell you that and then you start to run comps and they're like $100,000 too high, you may choose not to meet them. Maybe as a newer agent, just kind of getting your feet wet and learning, you might choose to meet with them and just get used to going on appointments. That might be okay. But as somebody like myself, I pick up the phone and I call people and I go, I just fell in love with you. The last thing I want to do is waste your time. And quite frankly, I'm a mama of little ones and I don't want to miss a dinner or a bedtime for unrealistic sellers. Nothing
Love it.
pisses me off more when I take time away from my family for people that are unrealistic. And it took me a long time to get clarity on that. So, and I just had one of these a couple of months ago, actually. They were a referral from one of my very best clients. one of their good friends, and she's been on another house, we bought it a couple years ago, so for me going, we bought it a couple years ago, the market's gone down. Pretty sure you were probably breaking even on the house.
Right.
And then they tell me what they wanna sell it for, what they bought it for. And so I didn't say anything on the initial phone call because I didn't know all the information up front, but as I ran comps. They bought it for like $650 and it was worth about $600. And I called them up and I said, hey, I really don't wanna waste your time. But you know, this is what you told me you were not willing to sell less than, and you really wanted to get close to 700. They wanted to get close to 700 and it wasn't worth more than 6 on paper. And I said, I just don't wanna waste your time and, you know, and meet with you. Plus I was meeting with them at 6:30 that night. I missed dinner with my family and I missed bedtime. Right? So I was like, if I'm gonna go here, I wanna make sure that they're realistic. And as I was talking them through it, I had a 20-minute conversation. They said, well, let us talk it over and we'll get back to you. And they ended up calling me back and said, we still wanna meet with you. They had a motivation to sell, and their motivation was, we're gonna save money on our mortgage because we're paying like $4,000 a month on our mortgage, and when we're going to rent, it's gonna be probably at least $1,000 cheaper. We are gonna get some money back out of our house and we're gonna be able to save some money. So for them, even though they were gonna take a small loss on their property, they were willing to still meet with me because it was going to make their life better. But because I asked those questions and dove deeper, I was still willing to meet with them. Otherwise, I could have just said, you know what, I'm not the right fit for you. But because I dove deeper and asked those questions and said, what's important to you about selling now? So these are some key questions, and these are part of your script. So when you hear me ask questions as if I'm talking to a seller, write those questions down, you guys. So what's important to you about selling for X amount of dollars? What's important to you about selling right now? Okay, a lot of people that I meet with today that bought a couple of years ago, they're breaking even or they might be a little underwater. If I couldn't get, what happens if I can't get you the 650? Or what happens if I can't get you the close to 700,000? And that's the question I asked the seller originally. What happens if I can't get you close to 700? She's like, well, then I'm not willing to sell. And I said, okay, that's what I need to know. And so I went back to my comps and I called her. I said, I can't make that happen for you. So she got back with her husband and she was just really mad about it, but she came to terms and they ended up selling, and it was a great smooth transaction. So anyway, so your pre-qualifying questions are gonna help you in your research. It's gonna help you know the condition of the property so that you can properly comp the property, right? It's gonna help you pull a net sheet, bring a net sheet with you when you meet with people. That's another thing most agents don't do. A net sheet is breaking down all of the expenses that a seller has in selling a property. So that's why we ask how much they owe on their mortgage. Because let's say, you know, if we're selling it for 700 and they owe 500 on it, they have $200,000 in equity, right? So, you know that you are gonna be able to get paid, but we're gonna be able to pay, okay, here's what your standard commission is, and here's a standard closing cost that sellers typically see. And here's a rough estimate of what you're gonna walk away with after you sell your property. Now that's hard, factual information for a seller to make a decision right now, right? If you don't have that information, they're gonna go, well, I just need to figure out how much money I'm gonna walk away with. And then you're gonna have to go get that information, give it back to them, and then try to catch them and follow up later. But I give them, so let's say I'm gonna be able to sell their house somewhere between, because it's not a perfect science, right? It's not, it's a human system. The matter of presenting the property in its very best light and bringing buyers in, and ultimately the buyers are gonna determine what it's worth. But I can give them a range of what we think it's gonna sell for. So if we can sell between 650 and 670, I'm gonna give them a net sheet at 650. I'm gonna give them a net sheet at 660 and one at 670. Sure, they can add or subtract the 10,000, 20,000 themselves, but it gives them numbers. It's visual. It's very visual. Take the thinking out of it for them. Make all the thinking easy, or just make everything as easy as possible, because you're setting the tone. Working with me is easy. I have all the information for you to make the decisions you need. Okay. And in this market, even if you see a comp that's, where you think they want to get it, be conservative. This market can only be conservative, is only going to help you. Only going to help your clients. Yes.
Can you repeat that sentence when you say working with me is easy? I
Yes.
have all the way.
Yes. Show them that working with you is easy. I have all the information for you to make a decision now. You want to bring all the information, know the market data. This is a rough, this is about how many days on market are in your neighborhood, so you can expect your house to be on the market this much time. So let's say average days on market are, 10, 15 days, but their house is not great shape. There's a good chance there's gonna be one of those 30+ days on market ones, right? If they don't have nice furniture, there's a show, well, we can't get them to stage, if they're not planning to paint, they're not planning to do a whole lot to the property. You may be a little lower than where your estimated range of value would be for selling the property. In this market right now, buyers are looking for reasons not to buy a home. Okay, they're looking for reasons not to buy. So if you have any valid reason, visually valid reasons for why somebody wouldn't buy a house, that's gonna eliminate a whole bunch of people if we get them to the door, right? And the houses that are in pristine condition and that are priced right, buyers are still looking for a reason not to buy those, right? The ones that actually do have issues, those are gonna sit on the market. So we wanna make it bet every buyer will feel like they're getting a deal. Okay. So you gotta be the nicest house right now and you gotta be priced the best in a sense, okay? And so sharing that with your clients, buyers are looking for reasons not to buy a house, but get comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations. This isn't a fluffy, super exciting, sexy market where the offers are being driven, prices are being driven up. Like 35% of listings last week had a price reduction. So go to sapappraisalblog.org, I think, it's Ryan Lundquist's appraisal blog. He's the top appraiser in our region, and he has so much data broken down so simply. I take screenshots of his data that he puts on social media and his monthly appraisal blog, and I share it with my clients. And I literally just recite what he has on there because I know that he is studied and that is relevant information for our market. And it's very powerful information for our clients, okay?
How do you find him?
He's on Instagram. He's on Instagram or Facebook. His name is Ryan Lundquist, LUNDQUIST. Or sapappraisalblog.org or .com. I don't know, you can Google Ryan Lundquist and you'll find his blog.
He's all over.
He's the top
On the news, he's everywhere.
he's a huge speaker too. So anytime he's ever here, if you hear that name and he's presenting here or anywhere else, if you can ever get in front of him, he's fun, he's interactive, but his information is invaluable. Okay, and that's one of the places I get a lot of my data. But also knowing where to get your data and look at days on market. Being able to pull comps, being hyper local, right? So you're compelling CMA, so that's being able to say, listen, I have all these houses, but I'm only looking at these ones and this is why. You need to be able to look at everything, and if you're a newer agent with a lot more time on your hands, you should be previewing all of these houses that you can possibly see. Pending homes, you're not gonna be able to preview most likely. Sold homes, you're not gonna be able to see either, but the ones that are active, you should be going out and looking at them. I have a client right now, they are tech engineers, like tech startup engineers. So every single house, we're like, have you toured this house yet? I'm like, no. They're like, have you seen inside of any of these houses? They wanna know exactly what is different and how the comparables show, how their competition shows versus how their house will show. And I'm not gonna lie to them and say that I've seen it and this and that, I'm not gonna do that. But every detail matters significantly. The last property I just listed for them, there weren't any comps in the neighborhood. It was right out here in Natoma, south of Great Cache. There were no comps in the neighborhood. And I said, this is my range of where, data is showing your property could sell from. And they didn't like that number. So they said, nope, we need more data. They were clients I worked with before, so I already fully expected that. So what I ended up having to do was pull all of the data in North Natomas for them. Here's what's going on in all of in this zip code. I pulled everything in that zip code. And I said, here's all the like kind homes in this zip code, but here's why this house is different, this neighborhood is different, and this and that. I gave them a map, different colored map, so that they could see different neighborhoods and why and how far away they were. And I gave every property, these are all similar type houses, but this is different about the neighborhood, that's different about the neighborhood, and this and that. My original estimate of value was spot on. Ended up being spot on, but we started the price higher and I had to work with them back down on it, but anyways, it's done.
One time when I did one presentation, I checked Zillow and another places. And then the person who was trying to sell, they looked for Zillow and not Zillow, and the price was high. And I went to Zillow to every house they choose. And it was, some houses, there was not even on sale, they never sell it. And I don't know why they took those comparables. And I proved it to them because
Who,
the
your
houses
seller?
never.
Your seller was looking at those homes that never sold? Right.
Yeah, so the houses, they get houses that they never put it into the market.
They do, so Zillow has a lot of data. They have a lot of data, they have properties that are. They have Zestimates that they give you, they have estimate of value for homes that aren't on the market. So it's your job to educate your client on what Zillow is good for. Zillow is good to look at homes that have actually sold, but they have so much more on there. They're not good to look at Zestimates because they're not taking all of your specific property needs into consideration as far as value goes. So you have to teach them that no, that Zillow has a lot of information, but it has stuff that has never sold, that was canceled. That is not an indicator of what the value of your home is. What has actually sold, what's currently pending, and what's active on the market, these are the ones we use, and this is how we compare it. This is how an appraiser determines the value of their home as well. So it's just up to you to really know how to comp a property and to guide your client and say, yeah, I know Zillow's a great source to kind of look and see what homes have sold for, but that's it. And everything that sold 6 months ago isn't necessarily relevant to what the value is today. It's completely different. So even though we comp properties out 6 months from today, when we meet with our clients, what's most relevant is like probably within the last 3 months. Okay. And more so pending properties right now and active properties, because pendings tell us what the house actually was listed for when they accepted an offer, and then active is telling us where the market's headed. So previous markets, sold comps were where we held most of our weight in determining where to list a property. When the market just kept going up and up and up, but in a market that's going down, we have to get ahead of the market. Because if we price where your neighbor sold their house a month ago, we're behind the ball already. If the market's going down, which it is right now. Maybe it's a little flat, but when the interest rate goes up, it sure does. And maybe it's just going down for a few minutes, but the worst thing you can do is overprice your property. And that's another thing that I share with my clients, that you truly cannot underprice a property. If you price it so well, you're gonna have so much activity that the market's ultimately gonna be driven up to where it should sell anyway. And then however, on the other hand, if you overprice the market, if you overprice your property, it will sit on the market and you'll end up chasing it down, and you could potentially lose money. And even get less than where we should have listed it for, okay? And it goes back to your script, so it's like, have you ever, what is my script that I say, what do you think is the first thing people think when a home's been sitting on the market? Exactly, and I let them answer. They always say something's wrong with it, and I say exactly, and that's the last thing we want to create in the eyes of the buyer, right? So it's all about your scripts, you guys. So you're part of your negotiation skills. Yes, you're gonna go through your presentation. Your presentation is gonna guide you, knowing the information and the properties that you're selecting. Even if you have more properties that are maybe very similar in size that aren't true comparables, bring them, but have them on the side and say, these aren't true comparables and here's why. It's a lot smaller, it's a lot bigger, because sometimes sellers will reference properties on the phone, or maybe there's one on their street that's like 500 square feet too small. Make sure you know about that one, because they're gonna bring it up to you for sure. And if you say you don't know the property that sold 3 houses down like 2 weeks ago because it was too small, it wasn't a true comp, you look like you didn't do your homework, okay? So, comping out properties is a whole nother class. So knowing how to comp out properties, practicing how to comp out properties, and the best way to comp is if you have a house that you live in, whether you own it or not, comp it out, because you know the amenities that you have in it, your family, your friends' houses. And go out and tour properties, tour at least 10 houses a week, okay? But knowing your scripts. I practice my script, my listing presentation script from Bolt, probably every single day for 2 years. Every single day for 2 years. It was like 8 pages long. I could recite it front to back. Why did I do that? Confidence, because in a moment of weakness, when I'm in a presentation with a difficult seller, part of those scripts are gonna pop in. Was my presentation exactly what those scripts were? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because Diana Kokoska at the time, she was the original writer of both. She's not even in the company anymore, and they've rewritten it twice since then. But she was like, my presentation isn't gonna be more than 30 minutes, and I'm gonna make them sign, I'm only gonna meet with them once. That's not my style. That's not what I like to build rapport. I'm usually with people for an hour to 2 hours if they're signing with me. Because I walk them through and give them planners on how to get their house ready and all the things, right? But I did, when people were ready, my script at the end would be, well, now all we need to do is simply sign the contract so that we can get you moving to San Diego by May 1st, right? And I'm like, okay, great. Or if people are like, well, I'm still like 3 months out, I'm not quite ready to sign. All we need to do now is sign the contract so that we have a goal date in mind. Now it's real. Now you can start getting your house ready with all the things that we've talked about. The price is probably gonna change. I'll run comps again before we go on the market. And if we need to adjust when it goes on the market or what the price is, we can adjust that easily. I'm not gonna slap your house on the market if it's not ready. Give them that confidence, right? But if you sign, they're committing to working with you today. They have agreed to be in partnership to get them to the next phase of their life, right? So your scripts, practice your scripts. You don't need an excuse to say, I don't have a script partner. I didn't have a script partner. 90% of the time, I didn't have a script partner. I was here practicing my script every single day out loud by myself. Okay. No excuses.
Do you have a suggested source for scripts?
If you're in, okay, bold. Are you in both?
Yeah.
Are you in both? Oh, God. You have so many scripts in your bold binder. Just, those were my #1 scripts. And I have open, if you have open house, there should be open house scripts in there. There should be for sale by owner scripts, there's listing scripts, there's buyer objections. Tom Ferry has a number of scripts. You can go to tomferry.com. Or is it Mike Ferry? One of the scripts. It's Tom Ferry.
Oh, is there two?
I think Mike Ferry is the coach now, but Tom Ferry is his dad. But you can go there and they give you free scripts. They have like 40 objections handled. It's every single objection that a buyer or seller could ever give you handled. And those are very direct scripts. It doesn't matter. You're gonna be like, this isn't me, I can't say this. Yes, you can. When you are confident and you know your stuff, you can say it. And it's not about having the confidence in order to say it. It's about when you know the data, when you know your market, you are doing them a favor by having these difficult conversations, because at the end of the day, you can promise them that you can sell them their house for 50,000 more than what the market actually bears. But at the end of the day, when you don't deliver on that promise, nobody's gonna be happy. They're gonna be pissed at you. They're never gonna want to work with you again. They're gonna be a terrible review, and they're not gonna refer you future business. And you're gonna spend a whole bunch of time spinning your wheels, and there's nothing more valuable in this world than more time. Okay? So just be a student of the market always. I'm stuck. I can't. It's not fun.
Also, that look exactly what to say.
Yes, the scripts will tell you, yeah, they'll tell you exactly what to say. They'll tell you everything you need in there. And then when you get really good, what do they say? The road to mastery is 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to master any one thing. Okay, there we go. There's your objection handling. So I know I'm going way past, I don't even know how much time you guys gave me for the class, but I'm just gonna keep going, and you guys can log off if you need to. You can stay on with me. I've got some time today. So price objections. So making sure that you're addressing their price objection, if they've already told you they wanted like 30, 40, 50,000 or more, or even 10,000 more with the market bears, address that up front. When you get into the comps, so it's like, I know you said you wanted 65. I'm not seeing that right now, but what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go through the comps together. We're gonna go through all these properties together about a presentation, and we're gonna determine today where we should list your property. We're gonna do it together. So it's not like you're telling them where to list the property, we're doing it together. They're gonna decide at the end of looking at everything where the property should be listed in order to sell, right? So you're empowering them with knowledge. It's not, yes, you do need to be the market expert and you do need to guide people, But where you're successful is in empowering them and giving them the knowledge they need to make the decisions. When you make decisions for other people, it never ends up well, because they need to have ownership in their decision, right? Okay. So I understand you want top dollar. Let me show you how our strategic pricing models outperform the market by 4.2%, whatever. So you can know your stats and know where you sell properties versus others, so you can use that script. You don't necessarily need to, but it's like, let me show you what we do to get people's homes sold for top dollar in the quickest amount of time in the least amount of hassle. Let me show you what we do to get people the most money for their home in the quickest amount of time in the least amount of hassle. Probably being like, oh, she knows her script, right? Like I've done, because I've practiced them over and over and over and over again. And people want to know what you can do for them. So you need to make sure and make it all about them. It's not about you, it's not about your success. It's about what you can do to help them. What are you gonna do for them? Commission concerns, people always wanna feel like they're getting a good deal, right? Industry standard is 6%, well, our industry changed, right? Now, the National Association, we lost in the big lawsuit where, you know, it's no longer advertised essentially on what you pay a buyer's agent, and if you want to. You've never been obligated to pay a buyer's agent, but in this market, it is customary. We are still seeing sellers pay buyer's agent commission. I've been through it where sellers haven't wanted to pay a buyer agent commission. They don't feel like buyer's agents do anything, or they feel like the buyer can pay their agent. That may be true in other markets, larger markets like San Francisco, LA, New York, places like that. But in Sacramento, we have a lot of first-time home buyers using a lot of first-time home buyer down payment assistance programs. They don't put tons of money down. So it is customary to pay a buyer's agent. We're seeing between 2 to 2.5%. 2.5% is customary. Industry standards about 5 to 6%. I charge you're paying 2.5% to me. That's all you're committing to paying today. And what you pay a buyer's agent, if you choose to pay a buyer's agent, will be negotiated at the time a contract is presented to you. And then you leave it at that. But I do set the precedent that we customarily see sellers paying about 2.5% to buyer's agent. Okay. So, when people ask about commissions, right now, they're only committing to paying me 2.5%. That's all I get paid, okay? Timing warnings, we'll create a customized timeline that works with your specific needs. So that's working with them and letting them know that no two people, no two transactions are alike. So we're gonna create a plan that works for them specifically. Okay, so it's why you ask all those pre-qualifying questions up front to know what their timeline is like and what's important to them about that. Are they gonna be buying a house at the same time that they're selling? Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, and your appointment time just doubled. And your money, your income just doubled because you're gonna help them sell and you're gonna help them buy. Okay, it's a very strategic process there. We don't even have time to go into what a sell by looks like. And competition questions. Our unique digital marketing strategy generates 3 times more qualified buyers. So that's where you get to go into your marketing strategy. You put your marketing strategy in your pre-listing packet that you drop off on their doorstep the day before. You can email them a copy of one too. Where I find, yes, I would do that maybe if it was an appointment pretty far away, or if it's a last minute appointment I'm setting the same day. I would send one digitally to them and make sure that they take a look at it before we meet. But what I do find is when I put a presentation on their doorstep the day before, or at least a day before, they look at it and go, wow. And not only that, but when you do that, you have a chance to tour the neighborhood. Take a look at the neighborhood, maybe you're touring some other properties while you're there too. So you're really getting a feel for the neighborhood. You're knowing if there's any outliers to that specific property. They didn't tell you that and if you didn't catch it, that it was across the street from facing the freeway. Or backing up to a main thoroughfare with a stoplight at the corner, right? These things matter so that you can address them up front. And some people think, oh, I live across the street from an elementary school and I love it, but they didn't mention that to you. And if you're not looking at the map properly, you may have missed that. But if you drive by, you're not gonna miss that. And you can address that too. It's a 50-50 on living across the street from an elementary school. Some people love it, perfect for their family. Other people would be caught dead a mile away from a school because of the traffic twice a day, okay? So just really depends, right? And your competition, so knowing if they're interviewing other people. One of your key questions is, so other than so all we need to do now is sign the contract so we can get you moving to San Diego by May 1st, right? And they say, well, okay, well, we need to think about it and we'll let you know. Okay, great. Well, other than thinking it over, is there any other reason you wouldn't list with me today? That's where you're gonna get the meat of their concerns. And a question or an okay, this is, an objection is a question in the mind of a buyer or seller. They don't have enough information to be able to make a decision today. So that's what an objection is. Objections feel icky, like, oh my God, they're not ready to sign to me today. Okay, well, just call me and let me know, right? That's what you could say, and that's what I have said a whole bunch, but however, when you can say, other than blank, other than thinking it over, is there any other reason you wouldn't list with me today? And if they say no, we just wanna make sure we're making the right decision and we wanna take some time. I'm not gonna make them sign, and that's, you know, some people would say, why don't you sign and then we can rip up the contract tomorrow? I'm not gonna make them sign. I'm gonna say, okay, but by asking that question, you're gonna get the real nuts of it. Well, we have another person that we're interviewing. Okay, great. So other than interviewing another person, is there any other reason you wouldn't listen to this guy? So you see how you're getting deeper? Well, we just don't like the price very much. I can understand that. I understand you wanna get as much as you can for the property. And right now, this is what the market is bearing. I would love to get you more money for your house, whatever much it is that they say. At the end of the day, the last thing I wanna do is promise you that I can do that and not be able to. And that you're just gonna be pissed at the end of the day, and I would straight say, you're just gonna be pissed at me at the end of the day. And that's not gonna be good for anybody. It's my job to put as much money in your pocket. And you're not, and oh, we just don't wanna pay that much in commission. It's like, look, you're not paying me to list your property, you're paying me to negotiate for you. Anybody could put a house on the MLS and let people come in. But the negotiation is really where I shine. I just had another one. I've done this multiple times, this brick thatch one. Face the freeway, they wanted more for their property, but I'm like, it faces the freeway, I'm like, this is a wild card, it's super loud. Backing up to the freeway, it's usually $20,000 to $30,000 differential in price, where you're gonna lose that by the location. Being that it faces the freeway across the street and it's kind of far away, but it's still super loud, I don't know where it's gonna be. Well, that was our biggest outlier, because the house is beautiful. What we ended up doing was negotiating a rate buy down, where my clients credited like $6,000 to save the clients like $200 in their payment to get them to full price, etc. So had I not had that knowledge, I wouldn't have been able to get these buyers under contract. It could have cost my seller $20,000 off the price of the home, versus only costing like a $6,000 credit, right? And somebody's saying that the AC needs to be replaced, well, it's functioning, to be able to negotiate through repairs, things like that. Knowledge is power. Maybe you've never negotiated that before. Get with an agent that's done it. For your very first listing, if you're in coaching, enroll your coach for help, who's done it before. Enroll another agent in this office that does a lot of listings so that you can learn directly from them. You're the point person, but you're gonna pay them to help you. Okay, I promise you it'd be worth your time. I know we're getting. You're good. Stuff again. Oh, wait, I didn't turn it off on again. Try that.
Shake the real fast. It's over there.
Oh, back over
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here again. Okay, there we go. Not gonna change. Okay, closing the deal, getting the signature. So we already talked about all this stuff already, creating urgency. Is there any reason you would list with me? All we need to do now is simply sign the contract. These are all scripts. Know your script. Practice, 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 practice. Ask your coach for scripts, ask the team leader for scripts. Use your bull binder for scripts, ask another agent in the office. I have a whole, and create a script binder so that you have them. If I'm doing an open house, where are my scripts for my open house? I'm getting all these objections. Here's my objection handlers, my listing. Here's my listings. I'm gonna cold call somebody. I'm a door knock. You have them all there. And most of those scripts overlap each other. Okay, if you're doing an open house, most of the time people think you're just gonna find buyers in open houses. That's very true. There's a lot of sellers in open houses too. Your script for an open house to get a listing is, have you thought about, or do you need to sell a house in order to buy? I did open houses for years and years and years, and I never asked that question. And you know what? I never got a seller out of it either, until I started asking that question. It completely changed the game for my open houses. Okay, ask directly, all we need to do now, it's okay to be direct when you know that they're ready, willing and able right now. Okay? Make it a win-win, make sure you understand their motivation, understand what's important to them, so that you can lean into that. To be able to get them to sign the contract and build trust with you, okay? People work with people they know, like, and trust, and most people only interview they only work with the first person that they interview.
Could you go back just for 1 second? Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, you bet. 100% marketing knowledge, stay current on neighborhood trends. Every few weeks, you guys should be pulling comps. If you're doing an open house, pull the comps every week in your neighborhood, study those comps, bring them with you. What I find, even if you're doing an open house during the week and you're getting like 2 people in during the week, that is your study time. That's your time to learn about the market, to learn about your neighborhood. Whatever it is that you do, make yourself a student where you need to study everything. Ask lots of questions, practice your scripts in your open house. If you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to do any of this, I'm in an open house. Don't let that stop you. Bring all of your work with you. Don't be scrolling on your phone. Don't be, talking to your mom for the entire 2 hours on the, at the open house. Bring your work with you. Okay, to be making phone calls to, asking for referrals. Continuously refine your pitch for maximum impact. So all these scripts are gonna be very similar, but you're gonna use them in a different context when the market's going down. Lead with that information. This market, people are looking for reasons not to buy houses right now. I say that in every single one of my listing presentations, because I'm setting the tone where you're not gonna get top dollar, you're not gonna probably get multiple offers. Most sellers are negotiating, giving somebody a credit for closing costs. That is back right now, for giving people credit buyouts. You're not being able to list, even though your house is prettier than the rest, it doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get more for it, okay? And even at the presentation, whether they've agreed to work with me or not, I'm still asking right then and there for who do they know. Because if they were impressed, but they're just not ready to make a decision, I want their referrals from their friends and family, their coworkers, everybody. Okay, I don't know what the 10X name is. But that's more like asking for referrals, practicing your scripts. There's one thing that has changed, well, if I can give you guys a couple of tips that I think changed the trajectory of my business and helped me be as successful as I have been in my career, is I practice my scripts every day. I showed up and I treated this like a job. Because people get into real estate for the freedom and the flexibility and all the fun rah, right? That you don't have to show up and you can make as much money as you want, right? But in order to make the amount of money that you want to make and have the success that you want to have, you have to treat it like a job. That's where the freedom is. Treating it like a job. I practice my scripts every single day. I had a calendar. I was in coaching from the very first day I was in real estate. I was in coaching. And when I grew out of my productivity coach, I was in, I think, beginning coaching. I enrolled in every single class I could take. I was here for everything. I never missed a team meeting in like 12 years. You guys, I was here. I took every single class, and then when the free classes were not beneficial to me anymore, I went and found paid classes. I took bold. I think I took it bold 11 times. I took bold 3 times in 1 year once. I had a really emotional year, and it was mostly to grow myself. But in doing so, when you grow yourself, everything around you grows. Your business, your finances, everything. The year that I took bold 3 times, I never worked less in my career, had more fun, and made more money. When you think taking bold would just like totally like change into your business, and it was like completely liberating. I had a lot of, like I said, I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I took bold. I was in coaching from the very first day. When I grew out of my productivity coach here at the office, I had a max coach. And I recently, for the first time in my career, let my coach go in October because my path is a little different these days. I'm actually slowing my business down. I'm just kind of being very choosy and selective of who I'm choosing to work with, because another beautiful thing about real estate is that I can always focus again. And right now, my heart is at home. I want to be home with my little boys. I have a 3-year-old, he just turned 3, he's going on 30. Thinks he runs the show. And then I've got my 4.5-year-old, and I just want to be with them. And I have the ability to do that because of what I've built. So, and then my husband runs our investment division, and I'm kind of stepping and helping with that. So if you guys know of any fixer properties, let us know, give us a call. And we'd love to have you guys relist the properties. Keller doesn't let us list our own flip properties at all, nor do I want to. So you're not in any competition with me. I'm literally just like working with my friends, family, and my very favorite clients. That won't work with anybody else. So there's my life. Yeah, so that's all I've got today, but if you name it, I've probably been through it, so. I've got a few more minutes if you guys wanna ask some questions, so I'll open it up.
Really good job. What would you say, okay, I think the biggest thing is, since it's when I'm listening, right? When you are facing, when you show the comps, say new home subdivisions are huge right now. A lot of resales are happening in new home subdivisions since they're now more established and property taxes more expensive, a couple years later. What would you say in a position, and I'll set the stage, I took a listing that's gonna be coming live. They're priced about 25,000, they want to price about 25,000 too high. And the reason why is because of what they put in the property, seller owns solar, so I'm trying to focus more on that and luxury living, but there's still houses and phases of homes being sold for less.
Brand new construction,
Brand new construction.
that is their direct competition.
Yep.
So what you've gotta do is go to the builder, have all that information, not just from their same builder, but from the other builders around, because when you're in a community that's still being developed, that's your direct competition, right? Even if your little development's done and there's a ton of building going on around you, which is huge in Elk Grove and Roseville and Lincoln and all these other places, you've gotta know all of the inventory, right? Okay, and the deals are with the builders right now. Builders can lock in a 5.25 fixed interest rate, 30-year fixed interest rate, that's gonna save somebody maybe like $600 a month in payment, right? So if you can give them that information, why would they go new? Because I have my landscaped backyard and I have all of my backsplash, I paid $25,000 in upgrade. Well, a lot of builders right now are adding all those upgrades in. And they're also providing 5.25 fixed interest rate, which is saving X amount of dollars a month in payment.
And you can negotiate the landscape, I used to do that all the time.
It's just showing them.
But you're showing them the value, you're showing them the dollar, at the end of the day, and sure, yours maybe is a little more established, but there's some people that just want brand new, but your competition is brand new. Somebody is gonna go, maybe you have a couple of additional upgrades, but they're gonna go somewhere where the payment makes more sense, that they're gonna get virtually the same thing. Their payment is gonna be quite a bit less, so you have to know that information, say what kind of incentives are you giving, or they're getting $20,000 for rate toward closing costs and upgrades, right? So when you know that information, you just, that in and of itself tends to take care of the conversation.
Yeah, it hasn't yet.
And say, so what you're doing right now is you're helping sell other homes.
Right.
Is that what you wanna do, is help sell other homes?
So for me, for them, it's, they have a mortgage payment because they've already bought, and it's been 8 months, they've been making a $6,500 mortgage payment, and still, right, they got strong on money. And it's tough because it's 55-year-old community,
Okay,
it's 4% interest rate incentive that they're still giving. They just sold the phase of theirs, but they're still selling phases around and newer, you know, for new construction. So it's not hitting them to the point of them wanting to.
they only bought 8 months ago?
No, they've owned this home for 2 years. They purchased another home 8 months ago, thinking they had a cash buyer with another agent on this one for 800,000, and they ended up going and buying cash living on construction for a cheaper price, and they haven't been able to sell the house. So we've been letting it sit for 30 days to reset, because I don't want them thinking what's wrong with the property. No, and their thing is they're stuck on that solar, they're gonna have to take a little bit of a loss and come in with money.
Yeah, well, the solar, that's great that they have their own solar, maybe the solar system was $25,000-$30,000. But when, just like putting a pool in, you can spend $100,000 get you a basic pool today, right? It only gives you on paper 15 to 25,000 for an appraisal, depends on your appraiser. Last appraiser did 10,000, last few were given 25,000, so it's just crazy. But let's say max $25,000 value for a pool. So you're not gonna get those upgrades that you put in, you're not gonna get that back, unfortunately. So those are the conversations you have to have, and if they're just not realistic, that's a decision, a business decision on your point to determine whether or not you wanna go through with it. And if they are just adamant, can we just try it? I'll tell you, last year I did that so many times and I just spun my wheels and I was unwilling to remarket the property. I was unwilling to spend more time fighting tooth and nail when it was just overpriced. I cannot sell an overpriced property.
Yeah, you can market it, but.
I can market it all day long, it can be beautiful and gorgeous, but I cannot sell an overpriced property. And all I did was spin my wheels and like stress myself out and waste so much time that I could be devoting to serious sellers that I didn't have. That time that I was giving to this client, it was so much more of my time and my energy,
Right.
most of my energy going here, that I didn't go out and get more business and bring myself up. So that point, it's really a business decision on my point.
Okay.
I mean,
How long was it on the market before?
8 months.
Oh.
Is that something you would mention, like, do you want
Yeah.
to turn into less?
Are you listing at the same price?
No, I know, it was at like 800 originally, they came down and I got them 20,000 less, so.
And it's still 20,000.
And so about 20,000. For sure.
Do you
What would
want
you
it to
list
the
it
But
at?
here's the thing, it's a retirement community, so if somebody passes, their kids come in and sell it for whatever they can get, so there were 3 recently, the last,
They're trustee sales,
yeah,
but those are your comps,
yeah,
and then you have new construction.
right.
So you've maybe you're better than those trustee comps, and you can explain that out to maybe a potential buyer, but when they're comparing the brand new construction, which is what that community is,
Right.
you've got to look better than.
Yeah.
And builders, like, they don't like things to sit, so they make deals all day long and they dump prices all day long.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they made a bad investment, but it's like, do you want to be on the market for months again?
This is why I
And
have,
then the next time you list it, you drop it another 20,000 and then you're 20,000 too high again. The market is not going up right now. So it's just having those difficult conversations, like, what do you want? Do you want to just be done with this because you're already gonna take a loss, and if we list it too high right now, you're gonna leave it on it.
okay,
I promise.
that's the kind of conversation I wanna have. This is why I have a problem with those golden letters when people come to you and say, oh, I have a buyer.
Those are great, I love those, but, and when you talk to your sellers, they're like, listen, those are amazing.
And then they listen too high to them, you know, like, that's what happened in this case.
Well, it's like, listen, we got, yes, they were willing to pay it, but they didn't
Yeah.
pay it, did they?
Yeah.
So it's not realistic. So it's like, do you wanna be on the market for another 8 months and still lose money? Or do you wanna be done with this? You truly cannot underprice the property, right? I promise you. If it's priced that good, if the price is gonna be driven up to ultimately where the market and the buyers are dictating its value. But if you overprice it, which you did already, you know what happened, right? And just being okay having those hard conversations, they are not easy to do.
Right.
But it feels so good when you have them, because you know that you're protecting your time and you're doing right by the client. At the end of the day, you're looking out for their best interests.
Right.
I would love to sell it for this, but the market is showing it's just. What makes you think yours is worth X amount of dollars more than everything else? Do you wanna help sell other houses? I mean. And the market was better 8 months ago. It really was.
Can you see questions up there?
Oh,
Or did
no.
you ask them?
I asked them, but did somebody put it in the chat? Can somebody just unmute themselves and ask questions? Cause I.
Everybody on Zoom, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them, please. Can't see them all, there's like more people behind me.
I did see a message pop up earlier, I don't know what it said. How do we do that?
I don't know. Yeah, keep going, keep doing it, yeah.
Let me do that.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry, guys.
I decided it's not that good.
Mine either. I'm glad.
Oh, there you go.
No questions, but all great information. Thank
Who was that?
Be. No. Press that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi. I had just asked if it was possible to send out the slide deck once the meeting was over.
Yes, we can do that.
Send it to me.
Okay,
Pretty please.
yes, ma'am.
Who was that?
Yes.
Amanda Rodriguez.
Okay, guys, well, thank you for entertaining my 2 hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of chatter. I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much for everything. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye guys.
Beyond Club is next. Beyond Club. You guys should stay here because it's in person. Yeah, it's in person or Zoom. Since you're here, stay. Well, there's lunch. Is Friday. Yeah.
This community can be more just from murdering. Like people and what it is in the neighborhood. But if I get a, I know it's gonna go. I think that's what I'm going to. And they're looking to get a little bit closer than I but there's most of the listings in the area are over 700. And there's one that was over by. So it's kind of a lot of.
So it's gonna go.
I asked them. I asked them.
And they buy one, right?
Now, but it's not, you know, offer prices and stuff. So I would like to show this one. It's huge. And the neighborhood.
Oh, and then, okay.
Also
Nice.
my neighborhood, the same thing.
6.7.
There's.